Welcome to the circuit of Catalonia for the final qualifying session of the year. A 15-minute session for driver 1, a 15-minute session for driver 2, and then the top half of the grid. They go out for the final shootout, 10 minutes of action. The stage is set, weather conditions perfect, blue skies, broken cloud. John Watson, not bad conditions, 33 degrees. It started to rise through the day. It took a while to get going, but so critical here. I know it's qualifying, we're not looking at long runs, but it's getting those tyres at the sweet spot on the circuit.
Well, just looking at the ambient temperature, just under 30 Celsius, track temperature 33. Reality is, these are the conditions that nobody wants. What they would like would be subarctic, because the nature of this 4.6 kilometer Barcelona circuit, the Circuit de Catalunya, is that it has always been a tough circuit for whatever form of motor racing takes place. There we get an indication of the circuit and 16 turns in that 4.6 kilometer circuit. A little bit of elevation change, the highest point being up at the top of turn 9, lowest point being on the entry into turn 1, then the quick flick turn 2. And it was in that quick flick, Bruce, in turn 2, in the second free practice session this morning, at the end of the first, that we had what looked to be a relatively minor incident, but in fact has turned out to be much more of a problem for the M Sport Bentley team, because the number 7 Bentley, Stephen Kane, Vincent Abril, has had to be withdrawn because of damage.
Enzo Ida sitting pretty at the top of the points chart on 79 points. That's 17 points clear. I'm not talking about Christopher Mies. He's not here this weekend. Enzo Ida, the Belgian racer, has got Robin Freitz brought into his Audi and is going for gold. But Dominic Baumann and Maxi Buch so strong in the HTP Motorsport. Mercedes also looking for outright overall honours across the 10 races, but in the Sprint Cup they've got a 17-point deficit. That is almost a minor story to them, but it's not minor for Enzo Ida. Could be his first full title. And running on down, we have 5 driver lineups who can take a tilt at the Sprint Cup driver points. But for HTP Motorsport, they could come away with victory in the Sprint Cup and victory overall. But just look at the spread of drivers that have gone and picked up points through the 4 races so far in the Sprint Cup. The GT series is divided into 5 endurance races and 5 sprint races. This is the 5th and final sprint race. And for Enzo Ida, plenty to play for. We have a 5-minute delay for the start of qualifying, due to kick off at 15:30, but it will be out 5 minutes late because of a delay earlier in the day. And on the team's point of view, it's HTP Motorsport, their Mercedes squad, topped by 9 points ahead of Team WRT. And because they enter so many cars, the Belgian Audi club, Team WRT, is in 3rd place. But Garage 59 and McLaren, they've taken the first title so far in this year's series. They won the Endurance Cup at the Nürburgring, not so much in the mix for this, but Rob Bell is in, their driver, for outright honours if he can get it right this weekend.
Yes, and I mean, I talked to Baz Linders, who always was very helpful in explaining why they are where they are. And I mean, one of the complexities of Blancpain GT racing, both endurance and sprint, is the balance of performance, and a part of the balance of performance is on how the circuits that we race on are graded.
In the world of Pro-Am, Michel Broniszewski and Giacomo Piccini, there are 34 points up to grab, so they're not quite there, but they're so nearly there for their Kessel Racing Ferrari. But good form shown by Morgan Moulin-Trafon and Jean-Luc Bobelic this morning for ACA ASP in their Mercedes. They're going to see what they can do, but for the Polish racer Broniszewski, who just gets better and better, is looking very good here when we come to Barcelona.
Yes, and I think Michael Broniszewski has done a great job all through the year as sort of the bronze driver in that lineup, just getting better, probably even close to being silver.
Down in AM class, it's Claudio Stanovic and his teammate Stefan Lemery. Stefan missed one of the races. They're 1st and 2nd in the points, and for Claudio, the championship is already won, because his next rival clearly is Vadim Gitlin, who shares with Liam Talbot. They're some way back on 96 points. So for Belgian racer Claudio Stanovic, it's been a really strong season with that AF Corsa Ferrari number 55.
Yes, and the AM category has fundamentally been the domain of the Ferrari 458 and now its successor, the 488. And AF Corsa, Rinaldi Racing and others that run them for primarily gentlemen drivers have done a wonderful job, and it's a great car. It's a very user-friendly car for drivers who don't maybe have the maximum skill. But there we look at the combined championship points. So this is combined between the sprint and so Dominic Baumann and Maximilian Buch at 129, but Rob Bell right on their, well, you might say rear wing rather than gearbox, and Laurens van Thor further back, very marginally possibly could do something. But Van Thor has, the number one Audi, has had an engine change between the FP2 and where we are right now. So they will be starting, in my view, at the back of the grid as a consequence of an engine change. That's going to set their opportunities really right on the as far back. But just to go back to McLaren and Garage 59, the way circuits are graded, and Barcelona, Budapest, surprisingly, and Silverstone are all categorized as grade C circuits. And that grading has a bearing on how then the balance of performance is assessed. So I think that Garage 59 feel that maybe they're not getting the maximum, and I think the area where they feel they're losing out is simply in straight line performance. So they have to then introduce compromises to give the car a respectable straight line performance, but the downside is then they lose a little bit of aero somewhere else where they might need it, and consequently they don't feel as probably best placed. And I suppose also the consensus of opinion about the outcome here tomorrow, we've got the sprint race in the morning and then the championship race in the afternoon, is that it is going to be about who can maintain tyre condition best of anybody. These very long corners we have in Barcelona, turn 3, and then up at turn 9, which is a fast corner, but it's a short corner, and then further around the circuit through turns into 11, 12, puts massive load on the left-hand side. And the drop-off in performance will vary between the different manufacturers, and some probably have got a slightly better. It's not the setup of the car per se, it's just the fundamental layout of the car. So it's going to be interesting to see, first of all, qualifying, which is going to be key. Possession is 9/10 of the law, and if you can take the front row of the grid, you've got a very good chance of maintaining that. But if you're going to have to come from the back, it's going to be really difficult without overdriving your car, damaging your car, and other factors.
Well, Enzo Ida there, it very much seems to be Audi and Mercedes that are going to stop. Enzo on the right, a lot to do here if he's going to take his first big title. He's the driver in the spectacles. The driver who's going to go out the car second is Robin Friens.
Yeah, but Robin Friens and Will Stevens are slightly, I would say, unsettled. They've had a number of items of their personal belongings go missing.
Oh.
And for Robin in particular, he needs to go to Hong Kong tomorrow, and that's going to be an issue because a lot of the items that he needed, his personal paperwork, has gone missing. So
he's got to put that out of his head.
That's the point. Has that, or will that have a bearing on how he performs? Because he's thinking about my flights, how do I get into? It's going out to Hong Kong, so how do I get into China? Your visas and the passport. On it goes. So those are elements that might interfere as we see the work continuing on the number 7 Bentley, and the damage to the front chassis leg on this car. I spoke to Matthew Wilson an hour or so ago, and he said actually it was worse than the damage that we suffered with the car that crashed with, again, Stephen Kane behind the wheel, but that was not his fault. This one, Stephen put his hand up and said, sorry guys, I just messed up. But the damage to the chassis leg is such that the car has been withdrawn. So Bentley M Sport have just got that one number 8 car to uphold their honours.
Well, let's see how it can do. It very much seems as though it's Audi against Mercedes, but that was what we saw on older tyres this morning. We had a good shot. There's the number 1 car that's had the engine change. Good to see that's ready to go. Frederik Verbisch will be going out first in that, in the first 15-minute segment of qualifying, followed by Lawrence Vanthoor later. Interesting looking at Rob Bell. What you don't want when you're the number 1 driver getting ready to go out is a 5-minute delay. You sort of built your day towards the 3:30, and I could see him pacing around. He looked at his watch about 3 times in 30 seconds, then thought, can I afford to go to the bathroom? All focused. The McLaren has yet to get all the speed we're looking for. So we've just seen the number 7 Bentley. We know it's not going to go out. Let's hear from one of the disappointed drivers, Vincent Abril.
Vincent, do you know why Stephen went off earlier?
No, just basic mistakes can happen anytime. He was on his last run and he lost the car in turn 2. So it was really unlucky because the pace looked really promising for us, and to end the season like that, it's obviously a big disappointment for us here at Bentley. We tried to see if it was going to be repairable, but apparently not. So yeah, that's the end of us for the weekend.
Okay, bad luck. Sorry, thanks.
Thanks.
Well, thanks very much for Dakota, and you almost needed no words from Vincent Abril. That is a man full of dejection.
Well, considering how well he did last year, and coming here and in the full-on Bentley M Sport factory team, not to get to race and obviously feeling that I think the Bentley would have been a good car here. It's a car that normally, I would say, doesn't overwork its tyres. It's got a good aero balance. It's a car that's actually, I would describe as being light on its feet. And they're now down to that one car, the number 8 car, Andy Soucek and Maxime Soulet, who undoubtedly will, in the case of Andy Soucek, this is his home race, will want a performance, will want a result.
Well, and also what we saw was when Stephen Kane went out, his first flying lap put him right at the top of the charts. He was straight onto it.
But that was at the beginning of the session.
And then it was the final minute.
And then there was literally 2 minutes to go, and coming out of turn 2, just ran the car a little bit too wide. And one of the observations, again, just the general paddock chit-chat, is that the Bentley is a superb car, but actually there's a point at which when it loses rear adhesion, then it's the pendulum effect can become take over. Well, so that looks to me as if really Stephen got the back out, and he got it out in a context that he couldn't do anything to prevent it. I suggested why not just floor the throttle and try and spin the car, but I think in the context there wasn't time to do so, and unfortunately at the point of the contact, the tyre barrier was not a deep tyre barrier, and the concrete wall behind was substantially stronger than the chassis leg of number 7 Bentley.
Just to highlight what happened, it was coming out of turn 2, snapped away from him enough for the nose to go down. But let's find out what's happening in the world of Audi. Robin Friens, who's joining Enzo Ide, pitching for the Sprint Cup.
Robin, this is a big weekend for car 33. Can you guys make it?
I don't know, looks not too bad for us. We've been in the top 5 for the last 2 sessions. The goal is finish in the top 5 and maybe on a podium position once in the race. And that's good enough for the championships, though.
Well, this looks like a good track for the Audi. How did it feel out there this morning?
Yeah, not too bad. The car feels pretty good. We had some issues at the beginning, but we found some, so let's see where we are, where we end up.
Good luck for the race.
Thank you.
Robin Friens keeping it all very calm, and Enzo Ide sitting down behind him. He's got to say to himself, Enzo, this is just another day in the office. He's got to keep his calm, but qualifying race, of course, this will set the grid for the qualifying race. There are points to be had. It's a point for pole position first and foremost this afternoon, and we all know championships come down to the smallest of elements, and then 8 points for victory in the qualifying race, but it's about putting it on pole this afternoon.
Yes, and of course on a circuit like Barcelona with those long corners, keep banging on about it, but that's the nature of the racetrack. Also finding that elusive clear lap, not always easy to do, because you'll have cars on an out lap when you're on a flying lap, you'll have cars on an in lap when you're on your flying lap, and at some point you'll have been in an out lap and an in lap as well, and it just goes on. And with it'll be 33 cars, because the 7 Bentley, as we've just pointed out, will not be taking part. It's 4.6 kilometers, but you'll find there will be very few periods on the circuit where anybody or all of the 33 runners can actually get that one clear lap. So it's I mean, I don't like to use the phrase or the term luck, because I think luck is a tangible value that you can control, but you can get caught up in other circumstances where you don't have that control. And that's the difficulty for everybody, is just to, can I have that one lap when my tyres at their peak of the performance curve to absolutely nail it and try and put myself as far forward as is possible at the end of these 3 qualifying sessions.
And what we know, 30 seconds to go until we get underway. We're 5 minutes behind the original timing because of a little red flag during one of the support race practice sessions. But right now you can hear the engines firing up in the pit lane. It looks as though it's the ISR Audis that will be the first out onto the circuit. But in terms of Sprint Cup points, if we're just looking at those rather than overall, it's Enzo Ide leading the way in the 33 Audi. He's going to go out first. Robin Friens will go out in the second session, and hopefully for them they'll be in the top half of the grid. They'll go out in Q3. You've just got to get to the top half of the grid.
Top 17 will make it into the final 10 minutes. Just as a guide to give you an indication of the kind of pace that we have seen over these 2 free practice sessions. The first one, which was earlier in the morning, quickest lap time was by the Phoenix Racing Audi of Muller and Piccarello at a 146.330. Second session, set around the middle of the day, just after midday, was by Rosenquist in the ACA ASP Mercedes at 147.3.
He was
to my calculations, that's just a gnat's under a full second.
It was 0.999 of a second, John. You're absolutely spot on.
Due entirely, well, 90% of it due to what happens. Barcelona, the Grand Prix circuit, it's a living thing. It changes by the minute, let alone by the hour, and it's a function of this racetrack. It's historical, it's tangible. Just as the temperature rises, then the grip levels change. Sometimes they deteriorate, sometimes you might feel you've got more grip, but the lap time is not there. And we're now into, what is it now, coming up to 25 to 4. Temperatures are at the highest they've been all day. It'll be interesting to see where we are lap time. And of course, with the tyres available to the teams, do you run your best tyres in qualifying in an effort to get the best possible position to start the race? Or do you think, well, I want to hold back one of those sets of tyres for example, the championship race in the afternoon in similar conditions to where we are now, because that new set of tyres will give you, this is what a team manager is paid to do. The drivers, all they have to do is go out and max the performance of the car. The thinking bit on that strategy side is with the team manager and the engineers.
Yeah, and it can really make a huge difference. Just quickly while the cars are going out, the first drivers in each of the cars going out on their out lap to try and get space on the track. The ISR Audis leading around ahead of the couple of the WRTs. New faces this weekend. Andrew Watson has come across from the Garage 59 McLaren Endurance squad to share with Martin Plowman. Rinaldi Racing has brought 2 more Ferraris to take part in a Sprint Cup event for the first time. Rinat Salikov and Norbert Siedler. Siedler's out first. Oh, what a load of bunching. And the sister car, Christopher Brook and Alexander Matchell. But jockeying for position, John, out of the final corner. That's not good management.
No, and Enzo Eid runs wide coming out of turn 16. So that's caused a little bit of an upset for the start of his lap when the tyres were out. But why 4 Audis want to go out and fall over each other, 2 of the Phoenix cars and 2 of the WRT cars, falling all over themselves, I do not understand that. All that's going to do is mean that the tyre that they've put on the car, whether it's a new tyre, number 1, of course, is the Audi that had the engine changed. So it's, in a sense, out of that whole loop, because whatever it does, as a consequence, now they're all slowing down, all looking.
The Ferraris had to weave its way past 3 of the 4 Audis. That is not intelligent race.
When I was a child, I used to go to the pantomime at Christmas time. This is way better than any pantomime. I mean, they're tripping over themselves. Oh, dear me.
It was all about staying calm, and as we said with Enzo Ida there in number 33, he's got cars in front of him. He's already been off the circuit. Have a quiet day in the office, Enzo. Let's see how it goes. Now, looking forward, he's still got the Ferrari in front of him, but that's not a driver who should be challenging him. He wants to stay clear of that. He's clearly going to try and just get past it now by the looks of things. Well, up to turn 9.
Turn 9 is not the right place to try and pass you. You have to sit back and wait, get the run off turn 9. You're quicker through the corner. You can see how much you're closing on the Ferrari. You make the pass on the left-hand side, clear and easy, no difficulty in doing so. But the first flying lap, he made an error coming out of turn 16, which compromises your speed down the straight, and consequently your first sector times, and consequently whatever the tyre that was on the car. If that was a brand new set of tyres or the best of the rest, I don't know. But one thing's for sure, the first 4 cars tripping over themselves, and then Enzo coming onto pit straight, also getting compromised by just being maybe misjudging the level of grip that was going to be available to him.
Just to reiterate, as 84 absolutely on a charge there, looking really strong. Dominic Baumann on board. What's he got? He's got clear track and he's on it. He's not tripping up. Fastest first sector of all. This could change very quickly. But you'd say in terms of doing their homework, getting the car on the track in the right position, HCP Motorsports, another purple sector time, have done a really good job. And just to reiterate, it's the combined best qualifying laps from the driver 1 and the one from driver 2 that will define the top 17 cars who go out for qualifying 3. So Endo Ida knows he's got to get a good clear lap. He's got to get clear of the other traffic. But right now, Dominic Baumann has done everything absolutely right so far.
Yes, and he's had a clear lap. He's driven it cleanly. And now coming through the final corner, he's going to get nice tidy apex. Does that, runs out to the outside of the circuit, does that. Fastest sectors 1 and 2, 147.8, 1.1 seconds, and that's all due to track position and running a clean lap, and that's all he's asked to do.
Yeah, job done for him. He's moved ahead of Marco Bononomi, the 26 Audi. Good running for the Santalot crew as Robin Frietz looks on. Where is Enzo Ida, car number 33 on the timing charts?
He's down in 10th position.
He's 10th overall, but at the moment it's the Santalot Audis that went out pretty early in the session. They're 2nd and 3rd. Number 4 is Nico Muller in his WRT Audi, and then Stuart Leonard is 5th. We said the Audis are good, but for Robin Friens, the car he wants, the Audi he wants to go well is the one on screen. And now Enzo Ida has got clear track. He's done his best first sector, his best second sector.
And Edward Sandstrom currently in 4th place in the 25 Audi on this lap, first sector, purple. So look to see with the 25 Audi, keep an eye on that. That's not one of the cars we would have thought we were looking at. These cars, particularly this, the 33 as Enzo Ida comes in. He's got just under 9 minutes, and Vincent Voss, look, that look on Vincent Voss's face is not a happy look. Here we go again. Audis are finding the, I mean, it's...
Well, what is crazy, John, we've seen through the free practice sessions, the Audis seem absolutely on it here at the Circuit de Catalunya, and they're absolutely off it in terms of the way they're managing their track position. 33 is in, up onto the jacks, 8.5 minutes remaining. And Edward Sandstrom still continues his great run. He's 4th fastest at the moment.
Yes.
Here he is, number
and
25.
This, assuming he doesn't get delayed in the final sector, should see the 75. Now, what's this all about?
He's overrun.
Overrun, indeed. So, oh dear, I mean, going in at yellow flag, so, I mean, how can you overrun in turn 13 is beyond me.
He obviously just outbraked himself and went straight on. Now, car number 25, Sandstrom completes the lap. Second. Well, good lap there, 1 minute. So he's 0.045 of a second down. Really good for Santalok Junior crew.
But remember, there was a wave yellow flag in that final sector, and he needs to have gone through it slower than his previous best time, so that lap might not be brought into question.
Which he did not.
Well,
it's green. Anyhow, that's not for us to interpret other than just to mention. So it's the 84 HTP Motorsport Mercedes, top of the charts by 0.045 from the Santalok Audi, number 25, and 3rd fastest now is car number 87. So a good run there from Jean-Luc Bobelic from the Pro-Am class.
The McLaren, and this is the 58 car with Rob Bell behind the wheel. Alvaro Parent will be sharing the driving duties with the Newcastle-based driver, so gets on a circuit where they know that they're slightly on the back foot. They don't have the out-and-out pace, but they look to have, certainly as this position, relatively clear road ahead of them.
But that's
all they can ask for.
And this is the start of their flying lap. It's all a question of when you choose to get your car out onto the circuit. Clearly the Garage 59 crew under Baz Leiders held back, but for Rob Bell, he's not got the traffic in front of him that the Audis seem to. So some smiles from the garage, but at the moment it's up to Rob to get it right. Don't forget, in the Nürburgring he raced really strong. He made a couple of little mistakes in traffic. Now he's got one of the Audis limping around in front of him. Hopefully that will stay out of the way down to turn 4, and it does. It made him take a tight purple, and then he had a tighter entry to turn 4 than he probably would have liked. So can he ameliorate that? So turn 5, such a tricky corner coming up now. Trying to find the apex and a lot of understeer. Yeah, push, as the Americans would say.
You could see the front of the car just wasn't biting it, just moving away all the time from the apex. Nevertheless, that's the first time I think all day we've seen McLaren with purple by its name for any sector time. So for Rob Bell, up the hill and into the very quick, big commitment turn 9.
Well, the new top target, BMW's gone top. Philip Eng, the 99 car, looked very well balanced this morning. And now the Nissan with Takaboshi up into second place. Thumbs up all round from John Watson alongside me in the commentary box. But will they be deposed by this driver, Rob Bell, just coming out of turn 10 through the little kink at 11. Now the long right-hander that is turn 12. And then it all gets very technical. Little short stab down to turn 13, turn in, and then you've got the chicane that none of us like particularly, but it's now part of the scenery. Here it is, 14 and 15. Stay off the curbs. Oh, big clonk on the curbs, but that's not for the whole race.
Now, I don't like, because a GT car doesn't really enjoy riding the curbs. The nature of Formula, or a single-seater car, you can be more aggressive, but Rob Bell, where would he end up? He ends up quickest overall, 147.445, and he was fastest purple sector in sector 3. In spite of me saying that's not the quickest way, but there, Alvaro Parent. Come on, Alvaro, you can give us a smile.
Yeah,
yes.
he used up his
23, the Nissan, currently
purple
in
first
third
sector.
Place.
So, again, we were talking through the 2 free practice sessions about how the order was quite hard to read. A lot of people working different programs, and clearly the experience of Bob Neville down at Team RJN running the Nissan GT Academy crew. Don't use your tyres up early, get a feel for the car. And now for Takaboshi, looking very good indeed. Not such a brilliant middle sector, that could cost him. In fact, he's just slid back. We've got a new car at the top. The 88 Mercedes goes top, not with Felix Rosenqvist. He's added qualifying sector 2, but qualifying 1 is Tristan Vautier. Indeed. And that's a pair that John thinks are really, really destined for a great result this weekend. Well, will he be right? We'll find out.
They certainly were looking like they might get that result a month or so ago in Budapest at the Hungaroring. Maybe in these circumstances it might work for this young pairing, as we see the Nissan coming on to start-finish straight through turn 16, working in the wheel. Alex Buncombe comes across and
it's Takaboshi. And he stays in 4th place.
Yeah.
He lost it in that final sector. Alex Buncombe watching on from the pit lane, but that's a good time. If they can combine 2 good times, that will be very strong indeed for them. The 55 Ferrari is running down in 20th position at the moment, but that's the class leader in the AM class. So for Claudio Stanovic, such a good season he's had. But now the drivers are finding a bit of space on the circuit, but it's the red Mercedes that was fastest, but that has just been deposed seconds ago. Philip Eng has put the 99 BMW back to top, 3.5 minutes remaining. How low are we going to do? We still had a time this morning, 1 minute 46.3, which was a second quicker than anything we saw in free practice 2, and it's still 9/10 up on the best we've seen in qualifying number 1.
Yes, this morning's session run in much cooler conditions, track temperature much lower as well, and consequently, if you get your tyre temperatures, we watch the 85 car, Clement Schmidt and Jasmine Jafar dive up the inside. 85, Clement Schmidt behind the wheel, currently in 7th position, and on this lap, nothing looking amazing in terms of sector times. But you never know in this final sector. If it's clear, he might be able to make up a bit of time. Neat and tidy on the entry into this 3-part chicane. Stay away from the curve, which he does, and he's going into the garage.
So the clock ticking down, 2 minutes 45 seconds remaining, and every car that goes in the garage frees up a bit more space on the circuit for those still pitching for a big, fast time. A lot of the the top 10 are now in the pit lane. 33 drivers will be going for times. Alas, the number 7 Bentley, the sister car to the one on the screen at the moment, is not taking part, has been withdrawn. Fastest first sector time for number 8, that's Maxime Soule. At the moment he's ranked 11th fastest. Will he improve on that position? 11th fastest at the moment, 0.9 of a second down on the ultimate pace. Will need to improve to give a helping hand to hometown hero Andy Soucek. Is there an improvement from Soule? Yes, in terms of time, no in terms of position.
And the other car that's nowhere to be seen in our timing and scoring, we've only got the top 20 on our current screens because we've got a combined screen on the other one, is the number 1 Audi, which we saw go out at the beginning. And because it's going to start at the rear of the grid, I suspect they're not going to do an awful lot of running.
I think it's sitting in the pit lane, John.
Well,
all 6 of the Audis sitting in a row. They've done their job.
Yeah, but the number 1 Audi, all it has done is an installation lap or series of laps. It's not going, but what it will have is being able to hold back lots of lovely rubber for them to start a new tyres, have new tyres, probably to make the driver change, and consequently I would think very much the same for the championship race in the afternoon. So while they are literally on their back foot, they have got lots of things that will mitigate maybe against that back of the grid start.
Yeah, well, it could provide 2 stories through the course of tomorrow. First in the qualifying race, and then, of course, in the finale, the last race of the 2016 Blancpain GT Series in the afternoon. 87's been going well through the course this weekend. 9th fastest at the moment, Morgan Moulin-Trafort, and certainly the top car in the Pro-Am class, the 87 Mercedes from ACA ASP, rounds the corner almost on the circuit on its own. Will there be an improvement to move it further up the top 10? Close to its best, but stays in 9th position overall, but well clear by 8 positions from the number 11 Michel Bronicheski car in the Pro-Am class. So 30-odd seconds remaining, very few cars left on the track, and at the moment it's BMW from Mercedes at the top of the pile.
But it's the sister car, the 98 car, team manager of 98 to race control immediately. Now, we don't know what that is. Nicky Katzberg, currently he's in the pit lane, the session's effect almost over. He's in 12th position, so what kind of infringement as we see the 22 Nissan, and that was the car with Sean Walkinshaw and Ricardo Sanchez, it is. So it's making its way back slowly because there's no more time remaining, and that 22 car up to 15th position. So that's an improvement for the 22 car. Pleased to see it getting away from the bottom of the grid into that sort of the well, literally midway between the top and the bottom.
But obviously for Nissan, the biggest gain came with the sister car, 23, with Mitsunori Takeboshi being fourth fastest. So it's BMW from Mercedes, from McLaren and Nissan. And that wasn't the story this morning. In fact, look for the top Audi, and you have to look down to 6th position. So as we saw at the start of the session, they fumbled. They put the cars all of the track in the same place, and behind them Enzo either ran a little wide. That compromised his run. Where did Enzo? Not in our top 20. Unless I've gone.
That's a big ask for Robin Friends.
That certainly is. But what we have is so quick fire now. If you've never watched Blancpain GT Series sprint race qualifying, we have the 3 sessions. There's 7 minutes between session 1 ending and session 2 starting. Lots of activity down in the pit lane. Time for some people to cool down. But now we get the second raft of drivers put into those cars. And it's then when we get to the end of this next batch of 15 minutes, we see which is the top half of the grid on combined times. That's the screen on the right of our commentary box. And then we'll know who goes through for that final 10-minute shootout. So nervous times down, particularly for Enzo Ida, the 33 Audi camp. They've got to get into the top lot. And there's the gap, just under a 1/10 of a second between the BMW at the top, that's 99, and Tristan Vautier did a really good job in the 88 Mercedes. Rob Bell, great run for him to go 3rd fastest in his McLaren. Mitsunori Takeboshi will be handing over to Alex Buncombe. They are 4th fastest. Edward Sandstrom, really strong run, John, in the best placed of the Audis to be 6th fastest overall. And let's look on the screen for number 33, not in even 24th position. So for Enzo Ida, who's hoping to take not the overall championship title, but the Sprint Cup title. That wasn't the session he'd been dreaming of. And it all went wrong really for Audi early on. And in fact, 26th fastest time, 6.4 seconds off. And Enzo brought the car in very quickly after that gravelly moment coming out of the final corner. Will Stevens also down towards the tail end of the field. 33 cars went out to set a time, and of course, alas, as we reported before the session, the number 7 Bentley taking no further part in this race meeting. So let's find out what's happening down in the pit lane. Fastest in first qualifying, car number 99 BMW. Let's hear from Philip Eng.
Philip, you just got fastest in Q1, so looking all good for BMW so far.
So far, so good, yes. M6 was running really nice. Our boys from Rover did an amazing job to develop the car from FP1 to FP2 and now to Q1. With drivers, I think we had a very nice discussion about the driving. We helped each other out, and it paid off, and I hope Alex can stay where we are at the moment.
Thank you.
So there have been a lot of smiles from Philip Eng recently. Clearly a good run at the Nürburgring, fantastic run to win the Spa 24 Hours. And they've done the first part of the qualifying very well indeed. Philip Eng, 1 minute 47.212 seconds. And Vincent Voss, not the dream session he wanted for the Belgian Audi Club Team WRT outfit, John. Now he's got to get them focused on the second part, but they've given themselves a much bigger challenge.
Yes, and I think watching the debacle, that's all I can call it, of the Audis when they went out for them, so a 5-minute delay, I don't know quite why that is, and the respective drivers have put themselves and their teammates into a much more difficult situation. I mean, most of them will get through into the final qualifying. They'll all principally be in the top 17, with the exception of the number 1 Audi, which of course will start at the rear of the grid.
Yeah, they can afford to smile because it's a 2-part thing, and as long as they get the aggregates enough, then they start with a blank sheet for Q3.
Absolutely.
So there were smiles you could see down in Team WRT, but they just made it that little bit harder.
They made it unnecessarily hard for themselves, in my view. But who am I to say? I'm sitting up here in the commentary booth, just offering an opinion. Vincent Voss did look, I have to say, early in that session, not best pleased, but 2 of the cars weren't under his direct control, the other 2 were, and critically, the car that maybe we had hoped would have been the key one is the 33 car with Enzo Ida and Robin Friends. It didn't appear to be in the top 20 in our timing and scoring, so for Robin Friends, that's going to be a massive challenge for him to get in.
26th, John.
26th.
Out of 33 runners. We've lost the number 7 Bentley. Bernd Schneider, of course, the HCP Motorsport camp, a little bit happier at the moment, and he's imparting what he can do to Jules Simkowiak, who will be taking over the 86 Mercedes. And we saw in free practice too, that was right at the sharp end of the field. So they're looking pretty well set for this weekend.
And I think, Simkowiak, without question, one of the most improved drivers of the 2016 season, and undoubtedly having the benefit of a senior statesman like Bernd Schneider just not to tell him what to do, but just to allow him to develop the skills and the natural pace that he has.
And Bernd is very much that sort of, he's not in your face, he's just got all that knowledge. But it's Jules' birthday today, so let's see if he can come out with something big. So when you said there was a 5-minute delay, the original session was 5-minute delay. I don't think we've got 5 minutes extra. I think we still have the 7-minute gap. And in fact, the cars are now starting to drive off down the pit lane. Maxi Buch, great foundations laid by Dominic Baumann. Let's see if he can build on those. Baumann 5th fastest, and for Maxi Buch, blue and white helmet. Job lies ahead of him. Keep clear of the traffic. Get a clear run. Stay off the curbs. Don't bounce around too much. And let's see where the 84 Mercedes will end up. But Baumann and Buch are second in the Sprint Cup. But overall, they're leading the championship for outright honours by 5 points ahead of Rob Bell. 1 point up this afternoon for whoever takes pole.
Indeed.
Both crews.
Right now, I haven't got a clue. Because suddenly the BMW pops up quickest overall. I mean, the BMW they'd gotten their cars just in and around the top 10, just outside the top 10 in that second free practice session. And there we are, Philippe Eng, 99 BMW, quickest of all. Okay, it's by 99 thousandths of a second, but it doesn't matter. It all counts when it comes to putting the two first-second qualifying sessions together. And then ultimately, it's down to that final 10-minute session where you cannot afford to repeat what we just saw at the start of of qualifying one.
Yeah, you certainly feel sure. We saw some thunderous looks
surprise,
earlier.
Surprise! Oh, it's number 3.
Number 3, not 33.
Not
That's
33.
the Brazilian one, and that should be Sergio Jimenez coming out. But there was thunder on the face of Vincent Voss. You can be sure he's made it absolutely plain to his drivers going out for Q2 to make sure they don't trip each other up. But first car out of the pit lane will be number 3. So Sergio Jimenez from ready to go out from Brazil. One of the cars right behind was the 458. That's joining the championship this weekend, and that should be Christopher Brook taking the wheel. There was the sister car, the 333 Ferrari, and that will be in the hands of Rinat Salikov, having had the first session run by Norbert Siedler.
So keep an eye on is it the 88? 88. That's the car now with Felix Rosenquist. So assuming that they're going to get clear runs, that's going to get through. And of the two drivers, I would imagine that it'll be Rosenquist that will go on into Q3.
You'd certainly think so. The 55 Ferrari just getting a set of tyres bolted on now. 33, I reckon, well, clearly hasn't gone out to start with. Robin Friens is being held back. They're going to try and find that window in the traffic to send him out into. He has got to race this car into the top 17. It's 26th at the moment after Enzo Ides little off out of the final corner that compromised not 1 lap but 2 laps. The end of 1 lap and the start of the next.
Oh, careful. A bit of a late release there for the 85 Mercedes as the 88 was coming down the pit lane. That's Rosenquist in the red Mercedes. The difficulty that the 33 car has is what is the minimum lap time that Robin Friens has got to achieve, and you have to say he's probably going to have to be quickest overall to drag that car from 26th up into the top 17 to be able to have the chance to then qualify in Q3 to have a chance to put that car to the front of the grid.
I'm just going to do some maths for you, John. At the end of the Q1, the gap between 17th position, the one you have to attain, and even 3 places further back
1.7
was an awful lot of time. We're not talking tenths as it ought to be. So quite a few drivers did not really deliver in that session. They didn't stand alone. There were plenty of them. But for Robin Friens, he's got to go for what you call an outright banzai pole lap to get the car in the mix so that it can start that final Q3 session. Otherwise, if it's not in the top 17, the top half of the grid, it will be starting towards the tail of the field.
So the number 3 car, Sergio Jimenez, comes through, and Lamborghini following closely behind. But the key for me was where did Robin Friens slot in. He was ahead of the 3 areas that are coming in, so he is using the outlap to try and get up to speed. You know, the value he's got to hit correctly is getting the tyre to be at the point where it's just about at the peak of its performance as he goes on to the first flying lap, but not to overdo it on this outlap to end up in a situation where he's got nothing left at the end of the lap.
Now we've got some other people who can set a new purple sector time for Sergio Jimenez, but also purple sector time number 6 Audi. From time to time it flies. Marcus Winkelhock at the wheel. Let's see what he can knit together. He's an Audi that we know can be quick, but really we've been looking for the Team WRT cars in terms of championship positioning. But at the moment, already we have a good lap from start of a lap from Frederick Vervish. This is the 3 crew.
Oh, who's that?
Is that 87?
87.
That's Bobelic, Jean-Luc Bobelic. He's been going well this weekend in his hands, and particularly Morgan Moulin-Trafort. So disaster from them. That is strike 1 car. That's an advantage gained by the 33 car. 1 car that won't be on average strong. This is the street car. It didn't place in the top 20.
And just being held up clearly. And both he just aborts the lap. So 3 car, which had done a reasonably good so it's gone into the pits, but it's still Winkelhock.
Red flag.
Okay. So that's to remove the Mercedes.
That was a very quick call from the WRT crew. In the background there, already with his race suit on, was Enzo. He's going to be biting his nails through this session, but maybe that's an advantage for them.
That call would have probably gone through to the teams before we got to see the red flag. So that was sharp, from the WRT team to get those 2 cars in to save even 1 additional lap. You wouldn't make it up, you wouldn't believe it, but 1 additional lap would take away small percentage of the tyre performance as one of the sister cars makes its way back under the ACA cars. So that was a great out lap, great middle sector lap for Marcus Winkelhock. And Vincent Voss again just sitting there, head in contemplation.
Head slightly in hands, scratching of the chin, but there is the 33 car, absolutely key on the dolly jacks being swung around. We don't know yet.
And more importantly, no one has as yet recorded a lap in Q2. They've all been on laps, but nobody had a record lap because they all came in on the last sector, having been shown the red flag.
And what we can tell you is the fastest of all in Sector 1 and Sector 2 was Marcus Winkelhock, but his teammate Niki Melnov wasn't in the 20th fastest in Q1.
And the dynamic has changed yet again. We've got everybody who's gone out probably on sweet new tyres, having done an out lap, 3/4 of a flying lap. What are they going to do? They're going to have to stick with what they've got and hope it's good enough. But we've only got 11 minutes remaining, as opposed to the 15 that we started with. So time's working against us. So the Mercedes just drove us strange. I mean, whether that was an electronic glitch, sometimes things on the electronics and modern race cars do.
And you almost don't dare say this, but sometimes drivers hit buttons as well. The car is fired up again and got going for Jean-Luc Bobelic. Hopefully that will be able to continue in qualifying. That brought out the red flag. That has changed the lie of the lands. It's added another twist. Will Marcus Winkelhock have enough sweetness left in his tyres to go out and deliver and be top of Q2? Has someone yet to show their hand really got a fantastic chance?
Let's roll the dice here. 33 Audi, Robin Freins behind the wheel. You're Vincent Voss. Do you let him go back out on the set of tyres that he was on, or do you roll the dice and say, I need this car to get through to Q3, and the only way I can control that is to put on a brand new set of tyres? As we're saying, the Mercedes, brand new set's gone on.
Well, for the 84 Mercedes crew, so much to play for this weekend. They could take victory in the Sprint Cup. They could take victory overall in the 10-race Blancpain GT series. For 33, it's all about success in the Sprint Cup. I know what they need to do. Tell Robin he's got new tyres and don't put any new tyres on. He's a driver who can really deliver. Yes. Right, we're going again. Under 11 minutes remaining in Q2. That extra twist of excitement because the 87 Mercedes stopped at the side of the circuit. But no change of tyres on the 33.
But a change of tyres on 84.
Correct.
But why they wouldn't have changed them on the 33, I don't know. I mean, they have time to change them, because there's just under 10.5 minutes now remaining. And again, the 84 car, Maximilian Buch, no big rush, because he knows it's a one-lap wonder. All he has to do is that one flying lap, that will clear lap, give him the lap time, and that will consolidate their position. Currently, that 84 car in 5th place, so they're not really under any great pressure as the Mercedes makes its way down into turn 1. So the young Buch, the young German, you think he could a couple of more Buchs in that driving seat to help him see over the bonnet, wouldn't you?
Well,
did you get that?
No, I did. Did you want me to laugh? Laughing is optional, but well done, John. Right, so still the 33 Audi sitting down on the pit apron, along with 3 of its sister cars. So Vincent Voss is deciding to hold them back, doesn't want them to trip up, because let's face it, trip up they did. Now Robin Freins is out for the sort of lap that the Dutchman can really, really deliver. Now, one of our favourites, potentially for pole position, is Felix Rosenqvist in the red 88 ACA ASP Mercedes. Still cars come out of pit exit. It's going to get very, very busy very soon. It's about who has clear track space. But the number one, Lawrence Van Toor driven Audi, what can that do? That had an engine change, missed all of free practice too. Will it be starting from the back of the grid? Does have a role to play.
Yeah, so Rosenqvist got clear track at the minute, but what he's got ahead of him, about 6 or so cars that are still coming out of pit lane, and he's going to catch up to these cars. First, they're most likely coming into turn 4. It's their liability to get out of the way, let the quicker car go through unimpeded. But sometimes what you expect to happen doesn't happen. There's the Audi weaving around, getting temperature into its tires. Likewise, another Audi ahead. So it's for Rosenqvist. This is not actually the ideal situation to find yourself in. 8.5 minutes to go.
No, it certainly isn't. He's having to go wide and round the back of, I think it was the number 3 Audi, so already his lap compromised. Yes, it's a green time. That's his best sector time so far. But, again, running slightly wide out of turn 5. Such a difficult corner. You drop down behind, well, it's the approach to the first corner. There's a little isthmus between them. Then up the hill through the little kink at turn 8. Kink, hit the curb, got a bit skyboard, so not really a very tidy lap, and he's got one of the HTP Motorsport Mercedes weaving around not far ahead of him.
And he's got these 2 cars plus a further 3 coming into probably not the best part of the racetrack, but the most difficult in terms of traffic management. So for the young Swede, he's looking ahead of himself and thinking, oh dear, whatever I've done, what can I do? And almost to the point where he's just backed out of it now.
He's backed off.
Out of it. Yeah.
Might be a time to get a camera on the number 8 Bentley, because Maxime Soulet fastest of all through. And now it's traffic jam time. People aborting their laps almost at a standstill, John.
Oh no! The next thing you're going to have is a man walking in front of them with a red flag, saying you can do no more than 5 miles an hour. It's ridiculous. Look at them, all stacked up. Somebody down the inside, down to the Audi, dive bombed them into turn 14.
Well, this isn't running according to it. Here's the number 8. Oh, well, we took a look at it fastest of all into the pit lane. So what is it? What adjustments they need? Do we need new tyre at the top? René Rast, number 28. Thank you. Someone has delivered a really quick lap. 1 minute 48.3 for Enzo Ida. They're pulling up his overalls as he stands there. He has got a very nervous watch going on. What an extraordinary 2 qualifying sessions we've had so far. If there's a textbook, someone has left it back at the hotel. 84 though, this is a car and a crew we feel will really deliver. They haven't disappointed across several seasons. That's why Maxi Book has 2 Blancpain titles to his name already.
You set of tyres, but only personal best. But it's somewhat irrelevant. They are currently 6th, but that's elevated them up momentarily up to 2nd. That's a combination of the 2 times, so nevertheless,
well, very close.
Good job by Maximilian Book,
yeah,
in a very messy session where people were literally backing each other up to such a degree that it was almost embarrassing.
Okay, well, let's see the fruit of that. Here is number 33, part of the group that got backed up. Robin Freins now has clear track. Let's look at the times on the screens. 33, looking to see his best sector times. We'll let you know very shortly. Green in both of them, not good enough for purple, but purple wasn't required. We've got a new name at the top. It's number 63. That's Bortolotti, who has been so strong in the Grasser Lamborghini right down to turn 13. What can Robin Freins do? Enzo Ida will have chewed his knuckles away up to probably the base of his hand. Can Robin Freins save the situation? 26th fastest after Q1, has to be in the top 17 at the end of Q2 when the times are on aggregate. We'll let you know where number 33 will pop up on the aggregate times. Goes into 3rd place on aggregate. A lot of teams, though, still have a set there running that. That was a lap of 1 minute 47.1, the best of 1 minute 46.8 by Mirko Bortolotti, so looking very good for Lamborghini. The 84 Mercedes.
Yeah, but McLaren now, 8:58, Alvaro Parent, he goes 2nd quickest in that car, so suddenly we're seeing performances from the McLaren we hadn't really been seeing until the beginning of qualifying. So it's the McLaren in the front row alongside Bortolotti, then Robin Freins and Philippe Eng on the 2nd as it stands. So we have to get all these times resolved, and then we look and see Maximilian Book continues along his way to see if he can find further time.
Well, his
last lap was a 47.2. He needs more than that.
He's 5th on aggregate at the moment. Any second now we'll see how far they've advanced. Will they be advanced 1 position only? So it's still the 63 Lamborghini at the top of the charts from the 58 McLaren. What will the Nissan do? There is the 63 Lamborghini. Mirko Bortolotti has got stronger and stronger through the course of the 2016 season, and he's on an absolute belter of a lap. Purple in sector 1, purple in sector 2. Luckily, it looks no traffic ahead of him through 13. He's in 14, 15 follows, and then as long as he gets a nice, clear, balanced exit, slightly tail up, that's all right. Coming out of the final chicane through the final corner, will we see a lap in the low 1 minute 46s? How low can he go? 46.5, so fastest of all, it extends the advantage to 0.4 of a second over the 58 McLaren. Now the 23 Nissan, we saw a great run from Mitsunori Takaboshi. What can Alex Buncombe do out around the circuit, looking to see how good the time is? Green, that's his best first sector time. Maxi Boog on another lap in the 84 Mercedes on those new tyres has just set the fastest first sector time of all. This is far from over, just under 4 minutes remaining in qualifying 2. And then we have the top half of the grid on aggregate times will go out in Q3. Still plenty of things will change.
Down into turn 2, second sector time, personal best again for the 23. So where is it? It currently is not in the top.
It's down in 15th place. Robin Frieds has just gone faster to put the number 33. The car he's sharing with Entuida up to second place on aggregate. We said he'd need pole in Q1, or the fastest time in Q2. He's up to second place. It's looking very, very strong from Robin Frieds.
So coming into these last tight 2 turns, then get the car lined up, go through a little bit of a wobble just coming off, and again on the entry, the back of the car, not really sort of being in control, but nonetheless Alex Buncombe comes across start-finish line, and see where that puts the Nissan. Does it stay 17th?
It does. It stays 17th. It's behind
Takaboshi-san. Oh, victory.
Not yet. Things will change. It's the 63 Lamborghini top. The 99 BMW is in 5th place. Philip Eng at the wheel. No, Alex Sims, of course. Eng did the first stint. We heard from Eng, so it's Alex Sims on board. What can he do out of the final corner, final few corners? There he is, 13, 14 and 15, right across the nose. The Lamborghini got close in behind him, but it's still the 63 Lamborghini top of the pile. Great lap from Maxime Soule, 3rd fastest in session, 3rd overall. And now, of course, a lot of them have come to the end of their qualifying runs. 2 minutes still on the clock, but it's the 63 Lamborghini on aggregate, the top of the charts.
Car 98, all times Q1, Q2 cancelled, wrong driving order.
So that's Nicky Katzberg and Steph Dusseldorp, or if you prefer, Steph Dusseldorp and Nicky Katzberg. So for those championship challengers, that is another step up the grid for the rest.
Yep, so they're going to be at the back of the grid as well.
We're going to have quite a few stories of fast cars starting from the back of the grid from tomorrow's races, which from a commentator's point of view, we don't complain about at all. Out on the circuit, we haven't seen so much of the number 4 Audi. That's Dries van Tor and Nico Muller in the wall early this morning in the bronze driver session in free practice 1. Working its way, 10th fastest on aggregate at the moment.
Up to 8th. No, it's not certain.
No, it stays in 10th. Very, very close. It's very close in the middle order, but between 2nd and 3rd places, there is no difference in time. Robin Frieds in the 33 Audi and Maxime Soule in the 8 Bentley exactly level on times.
But because the time was set first by the Audi, it gets the privilege or the honour of being the 2nd quickest time.
Just to emphasise this number, as the BMW is at 98, it's in the wrong order. 99 being pushed back. Alvaro Perez is only 9 thousandths of a second back in 4th place. So Bortolotti sits on 0.43 of a second advantage, and then the rest so super close behind. And in 5th place, Maxi Boog in the 84 Mercedes.
I mean, what a session. We could barely get a word in edgeways. It's been just messy from the start, but how exciting and how unpredictable, because no one knew what was going to happen. Nobody knew if they could get that one clear lap. Those that managed to find it were able to make use of it. But so much time, people could say that traffic, and there we see the 85 Mercedes, why it's flashing its lights. Well, they've still got an opportunity to finish the lap, but with 22 seconds,
they may just fall short. We shouldn't have had a thumbs up from Takaboshi, because they're not going to go through unless there's a miracle. In fact, I think the miracle this moment's passed outside the top 17. They're in 20th position. So for a crew that showed good speed, now not such good speed, and they're out of the reckoning. There is the 23 flashing around the circuit. We wanted a green sector time on the screen. The first sector, I'm afraid for them, for Alex Buncombe, has not been green, and the checkered flag is now about to be waved. The clock has stopped at the end of Q2. We still have Q3 to follow for the top 17 qualifiers on aggregate, and holding down 11th, 17th place overall at the moment. The last person in the mix is the number 11 Kessel Racing Ferrari that's been so strong in Pro-Am, and Giacomo Piccini at the wheel. But it looks as though for number 23, their run towards Q3 has come to an end.
So coming back at a reasonable lick. The checkered flag is out, and he's going to complete his lap. So this, just to get an idea of what the Nissan's pace, down in 20th position, 1:48. So what did he finish? 48. No, it was slower. And there's the Mercedes that we thought might be in good position, down in 7th place with Felix Rosenqvist.
It's in the mix, John.
Oh, it's there.
It's
there.
in for
That's
Q3.
the most important thing. Most important thing.
So it seems the number 1 Audi has ended up just outside the top 17 in 18th place. That was the one that had the engine change. But is it going to change right at the end for the 88 Mercedes
yes.
crew? Felix Rosenqvist
second.
Goes up to second. So Robin Friens and Championship Sprint Cup Championship leader Enzo Ido back to third place. Very, very close indeed. But certainly the lap from Bortolotti in the 63 Lamborghini with a share with Nicolas Pola out in the second sector of qualifying. They're nearly 4/10ths clear. So they're looking good, but it all gets shuffled over. We go out for 10 minutes, really quick fire. Has this not been quick fire? It's been phenomenal the last two.
I mean, the two sessions have been nuts because of the bunching of cars getting together, then that red flag that threw another dynamic into the whole qualifying. Everybody was wrong-footed. The Mercedes went on new tyres. Robin Friens and the 33 Audi stayed, we believe, on the centre heat originally started on. And now we've got a set of times that, well, that's not the car, that's the same colour almost as the Lamborghini, that's the 333 Ferrari with Charles Salikov and Norbert Siedler behind the wheel. How predictable is Q3 going to be?
We can't do predictability. They're nearly 4/10ths clear, the GRT 63 Lamborghini, Pola and Bortolotti. Tristan Vautier, Felix Rosenqvist moves right at the end, the dying seconds to second on aggregate, and then Enzo Ida and Robin Friens got up to third place on equal time to the number 8 Bentley, and tucked in behind Rob Bell and Alvaro Perent, but using their new tyres to relatively good effect. Dominic Baumann and Maxi Boot, maybe they should have saved them.
And 5 different manufacturers in the top 5 positions. That's, I think, fantastic.
Absolutely so. 1 point up for grab. It grabs very shortly. It's for pole position in each of the classes. We will find out. This is a 10-minute session, and it starts almost a blink of an eye from now. We have at the end of qualifying 2 to qualify 3, a fulsome 8 minutes for the teams to gather their thoughts, and certainly the most thoughts that need gathering will be down in the Belgian Audi Club Team WRT camp. For them, it's been a frenetic couple of sessions, and it hasn't necessarily come out with the results that really were the ones that they wanted.
Well, they've only got one of their cars in effectively, well, in the top 10.
Yeah, they've got 33 in third place. Number 4 is in 11th place.
Yeah, but
and
the
28th. They've got 28 as well.
Okay, so 2 cars in the top 10.
That's in 8th place overall, but that's a very tidy advantage. But we set the clocks back to 0 and go qualifying freestyle. 10 minutes of final qualifying. Their last chance to show and earn their glory in qualifying trim in the 2016 Blancpain GT series. And quite rightly, the driver is looking a little bit hot and bothered. That's Adi Soucek on home ground. And his car 4th fastest on aggregate. Stage is well set. And for Adi, just trying to take the cool air being sprayed through that hose to keep his focus. Well, I mean, 10 minutes of what are we going to get? We cannot predict.
I mean, it's unpredictable, as you say, but what it is a great fill-up for the BEM Sport Bentley team, having had their number 7 car to be withdrawn because of the damage caused in that incident earlier in the morning. So Andy Soucek, he would be over the moon, or anywhere over, I don't mind, just to get that Bentley up to the front rows. Row 2, he'd take that as well, because you need to have the opportunity to make a break from the main pack. If you're stuck in the main pack, getting progress is going to be difficult, and in the process you're probably going to damage your tires because you'll be driving unusual lines or trying to do things, maybe aggressive driving where you don't need to be aggressive. So the premium on pole position here, I mean, you can almost put it at the level of racing on a street circuit. It is that vital to be at the front of the grid.
Yeah, and we've seen over the course of the season, we've got a lot of real hard chargers, and one of them is Alvaro Perent, who, for McLaren, they worked their way towards the top end. They're starting from, well, they were 5th fastest, but they're all starting equal, the top 17 cars going out for this 10-minute session. But for Alvaro, who's been very much a go-to driver for McLaren for the past couple of seasons, maybe it's now a time for him to deliver yet again. Clearly he's staying on board, and Rob Bell, who did that stint early on, is being kept in the garage. Number 26, Sansalot crew sitting there, all looking rather quiet indeed for them. But they're in the top 10, so they did a good run. That 26 shared by Mike Parisi and Marco Bononomi. Rob Bell standing in the middle. Well, there's nothing he can do about it now. Will the 58 McLaren be in the top couple of rows? But certainly the smile shows that he's quite convinced some of his championship rivals have taken a little bit of a trip. And in fact, the immediate rival they got in the championship is one place behind them after Q2.
But the other thing, I mean, Garage 59 have been extremely good at disguising their true pace. And it's almost becoming a bit of a parody because they do it so much now that after FP1 or FP2, you go to the team and what's wrong? Oh, they say whatever this or whatever that. And then when it comes to it, there's actually quite a reserve of performance available. They just don't want to show their hand until they're required to do.
Well, down in Lamborghini world, the 63 crew from GRT Grassa Racing Team has gone really well. Nicolas Pola and Mirko Bortolotti. It seems Mirko is the driver, I think, on board for this final stint. Would it be another pole position? Last time the Blancpain Series cars went racing, it was the Nürburgring, and it was a Lamborghini on pole position.
It was, and it was again a significant
one
pole
in
position.
Fifth, so they were right at the sharp end.
The amount of advantage that Mirko Bortolotti seemed to have in Q2, 0.3 or so of a second over everyone else, that's massive. I mean, that's like 3 seconds. So if he can get a similar run, get a clear lap, that's all he has to do with the best set of tyres, or throw a new set of tyres and sacrifice what you might want to have held back for Sunday's 2 races. That's a team decision, but I do believe the value of pole position here in Barcelona, you can't underestimate how important it is.
No, you certainly can't. And just to reiterate, there was a lot of people tripping themselves up in traffic, particularly if they were a couple of the Audi teams got together right at the start of Q1. We have 10 minutes, we have less time. We have half the number of cars. We had 33 cars going out. We'll have 17 cars going out for Q3. So the final considerations about what set of tyres to put beneath the Audis, the Mercedes, the Ferraris, the McLarens and the Bentleys, and so on down the grid. That decision will have been made some while ago, and now the team bosses and the drivers will find out, was it the right decision they made?
75 Audi sitting sort of not quite in, not quite out. That's the Frank Stippler, Philippe Salaquada car, the ISR team. Waiting for the clock to start the countdown as we look at Mirko Bortolotti in the Lamborghini, and great effort, great drive.
Well, McLaren are sitting very well. We know Alvaro Parent is going in, so let's out Rob Bell.
Rob, with Alvaro doing Q3, will you be nervous watching him in the car?
Yeah, always a little bit, which is daft because I can't do anything about it, but I've got faith in him. He's one of the best in the business at quali, so we're hoping for high things, really.
Now, how important is this qualifying to you?
It's pretty massive. You know, if you're at the front, you avoid most of the trouble. So, last race of the season, we need to win. So it's probably the biggest qualifying of the year.
Well, thank you. Good luck.
Thank you.
You wonder if Alvaro was told that it's the biggest qualifying session of the year, but a driver of his experience will know full well. So you could sense the tension that Rob Bell and the Garage 59 crew are going through. But will we have someone from outside this mix going to the top of the field? And one of the drivers who could well get to the top is Marcus Winkelhock, who's been going really well every time he goes out in the number 6 Audi, first out onto the circuit.
Yeah, I mean, look, he's going to meet traffic when he comes up to start his flying lap, but that's the punt you take. You take your chances, you go out at the first opportunity. By doing so, what you do is give yourself a second opportunity for a second run. I would imagine that Mirko Bortolotti and Alvaro Parent are looking at a one-hit wonder. Go out, nail it, hope they get a clear lap, and hope that's good enough.
Well, just looking down the pit lane from our raised commentary position in the grandstand opposite, there's not a lot of other action. There's the number 5, the sister car from Phoenix Racing. That would be Alessio Picariello, who set the fastest time all weekend so far this morning, 1 minute 46.330. And it looks like they might get round to start their flying laps. Certainly Winkelhock, before anybody else moves out of the pit lane. A lot of the cars still up on their jacks. Looking at the long shot, we can see.
Well, I
they
think
could have timed it right.
I think I might have alluded to the fact that this for many people will be a one-lap wonder. You know, go out, just nail it, just throw everything to the wind. It's so critical. I mean, Rob Bell summed it up from his perspective. but it's the same for everybody in the pit lane. They know the value of being in the front row of the grid.
Now, some of the fastest cars coming out. The red Mercedes from ASP was second fastest. The 63 Lamborghini from Grasser Racing Team was fastest, and the car, I think it was in 6th place overall, was the 84 Mercedes. They're all going out relatively close together. They're experienced enough to spread out enough not to intervene with any of their challengers. Now, the Mercedes with the green flash up it, that's Bernd Schneider and Jules Simkowiak. They're third overall in the outright standing, so this is a very important practice session. Alvaro Perent still at a standstill as Marcus Winkelhock starts his flying lap, and well, we'll see what he can do. He has a big enough gap up ahead of him because he should get down to turn 1 before the BMW does. He does, and I think he will now have a clear flying lap. So for Phoenix Racing and Marcus Winkelhock, this could work really, really well for the 6 Audi crew.
Yeah, I mean, Winkelhock right on it on the exit of turn 1. Slightly bit of movement from the rear of the car, but looks much more stable coming through the very long, challenging for the driver as much as it is challenging for the car. Turn 3, then hard on the brakes. Understandably, he got purple sector. He's the first driver on a full flying lap, so that sort of goes with the territory. But can he get through the traffic cleanly? Yes, he's been given that ground.
Slightly concerned. It depends how fast the car ahead of him picks up the pace. Oh, he's got past it. That was Clement Schmidt. He moved out of the way.
He moved out of the way.
So thank you very much to Clements for not spoiling Marcus's lap. Turn 7, start climbing the hill. Clonk the curb at turn 8. There's another car up ahead, but I think that should be winding up towards its speed. Up to turn 9. I've seen so many cars running wide, and that was a
mistake. Turned in very wide, very late, coming into turn 9. I don't know what went wrong there for Marcus Winkelhock. That looked to me like he misjudged the entry into the corner. Had to get out of the throttle and compromise, but again, showing purple, but that's only because he's the first car on a full flying lap. And number 88, the Rosenquist, he's now gone fastest. Purple sector 3 as he winds up to go onto his effectively first and probably only flying lap.
Well, the wheels is being stuck on the 58 McLaren. We'll see what that can do. They will be out right at the end of the session. We're down to less than 6.5 minutes. This 10-minute session. It's going to be super quick for it. It seems 58 will be having its run right at the end. But the one we want to watch now, car number 6, will it go? Well, it will most likely go top of the session. It'll be the first one to set a flying lap. But will it be good enough to stay there? What's the time? 1 minute 47.6. I think we're going to see slightly faster. We saw 1 minute 46 in the previous session. But anyhow, a clear lap. It might be a rare one. Marcus Winkelhock puts down the first marker.
Car I want to keep an eye on, we keep going back, is the 88 Mercedes. A little bit of a lock-up coming down into turn 1 from the Audi. So as the McLaren makes its way out, Alvaro Perent, just under 6 minutes of the session remaining. In this instance, this is going to be a outlap, a time lap. There is the 88 Mercedes as it makes its way through turn 9 and then the run down the drop hill. So when sector 2 coming up, is it purple, is it green? Wait and see. It's purple.
Okay, so it looks like Marcus Winkelhock's time at the top will be relatively short-lived, but I would suggest you need a low 1 minute 46 to look good for pole here. I could be wrong, it could be faster than that, but Felix Rosenqvist, the Swedish racer in the 88 Mercedes from ASP, he's got up to turn 13, turns in, the car goes down the slope. That's good. Of course, with Winkelhock, we saw him wash very wide up at turn 9, and it looks a much tidier lap from Rosenqvist from what we've seen. Now he's just got to get the power down and keep turning right onto the start-finish straight. Should he take pole position, I'll just point out that John has said many times this morning, it looks a very good hope for race victory. Can he go to the top? Yes, he can. 1 minute 46.716, almost as fast as the Lamborghini lap in Q2. This is Q3. This is the one that counts, however. So we've got 3 drivers who set a fast time. 4, 5 now. It's 88 from the 84 Mercedes has come up into second place.
Yes, so that's a good run from Maximilian Buch. And he ends up, well, it's almost half a second slower, but we hate to see what's going to happen. Mirko Bortolotti has done a lap at 1:52. That's
5 seconds off.
Miles off. So either he was compromised or he just wanted to go out, get a lap just to get a feel for the tyres, get a feel for the car, and then he will have another shot at it. But as it is right now, the 88 car once again showing fastest first sector time as we go back to the Audi 33.
But it's quicker, and this is important for Enzo Ida if he's going to have hopes to nail the sprint cut, because Robin Friens, his new teammate for the weekend, is fastest of all in the first sector. In fact, it's been improved on since by Felix Rosenqvist, but we're dealing in absolute blinks of an eye. And Friens has then just gone fastest of all in the second sector. Will that be beaten by Rosenqvist? So we've got the 33 Audi and the 88 Mercedes duking it out at the top. The number 4 Audi has gone up. Enzo Ida cannot watch from the pit lane. I think he's going to have a big smile on his face. This is fantastic.
Yeah, but this is what motorsport's about. It's about this level of pressure and the things that you can't control. You can control your own destiny, but you can't control what else happens around you. And Enzo standing there, face covered.
He's going to find out in
see.
2 seconds when it go top. 1 minute 46.7 is the best time so far. 1 minute 46.654. Come on, Enzo, smile. So to think it all went wrong, we thought at the start of
Wait
Q1,
and see
it didn't
what
help.
happens. Rosenquist.
Yeah,
Fastest first sector, best in second sector. He could nick that away again. No, he doesn't. Stays in second place.
0.054. There's a big thump over the chicane from 84 from Maxi Book. He's down in 6th place at the moment. He looked good early on, but that was a big clonk. Changing the top, Bortolotti has just got up into 2nd place. He had a messy lap, 5 seconds off the pace. He was fastest in Q2. That all gets wiped clean. We've got more purple times on the screen. Who's setting them? Bortolotti just set the final fastest sector of all. Anybody else got an arrow in their bow? Let's find out. The McLaren was one of the last out of the pits. Alvaro Parent. And he hasn't set a flying lap.
Interesting exit coming out of turn 9. Use a lot of the racetrack on the outside to straighten up the turn into turn 11. So personal best first and second sector. Whether that's going to give him enough time to put him onto the provisional front row or second row. Alvaro, why are you jumping over curbs like that? You know, this is not the Olympic Games. Stay on the racetrack.
Yeah, that was triple jump, I'm afraid, but we saw Rob Bell taking a very similar line through turn 14. Where will he slot in? This is his first flying lap.
7th.
Goes 7th, but we've seen with the Lamborghini that's second on the charts, and with Rosenquist, they've improved their times.
But 84 dropping like a stone. Now only 11th quickest.
We saw it use those new tyres, don't forget, earlier in the session. We haven't talked much about the number 8 Bentley. That's improving its times. That hasn't set a flying laps with Maxime
74
Soule.
back, 74.
Your favourite,
Yes,
one of your
Frank
favourites.
Pereira, provisional pole by just over a 1/10 of a second. But it's Audi, provisional front row. Where's the Bentley going to end up?
Waiting for the Bentley to do its flying lap. Here comes that flying lap, and it goes up to 6th place, so the order's changing very quickly. 84 Maxi Boot, Dominic Baumann down to 12th place. 16 cars rather than 17. Sorry, we oversold the session out in this session. But we look, the clock's ticked down to just over a minute. Is there another lap? Certainly within field, there's another one to come from the McLaren. Alvaro Parent down in, look down the screen to 8th place overall. Is there going to be another fast lap from the Lamborghini? It was second, it improves, it stays second, 0.126 of a second down. It's still that 74
but
Audi at the top.
Max Book is up to 7th place. He made an improvement. Wasn't particularly great in terms of all the 3 sectors. One personal best, but importantly, he's got himself up onto the 4th row of the grid. Big improvement from where they were in the 6th row of the grid.
Can he stay there? The car who could depose him is the 58 Lamborghini McLaren, which of course is second in the overall rankings behind the 84 Mercedes. The tail comes out. John and I moving our chairs in the commentary box.
Stay off the curb this time, Alvaro. You don't make time by doing that. A little bit
That's better. That's a lot better than last time, but he's already had the tail out.
A lot less aggressive.
And just to let you know how Alvaro, he set not his best first sector, he did set his best second sector. The clock is ticking down. He's got time for one more lap. How much of it goes into 6th place? Just 2 positions ahead of Maxi Book and the 84 Mercedes he's fighting against for overall honours. Can Rob Bell, can Baz Liners, can they find a smile in the Garage 59 pit? But certainly for the 74 ISR crew, they look quite strong at the start of the weekend, but Frank Pereira, he's 0.126 of a second clear. And that was he didn't improve next time around. He was 2/10 down, but still super competitive.
33, Robin Freehan's 3rd quickest provisionally, but unlikely to see any improvement. Stays 3rd, takes the checkered flag. Second car to do so, and the session is now over. But anybody on a flying lap, of course, is permitted to do so and finish that lap. And we could still see changes. But from whom?
Well, I want to see Bortolotti. He's second fastest. He's just over 0.1 of a second down. His fastest first sector. And in the second sector, can he nail it through the final corner and go top? Just over 1/10 of a second to be made up. Can it be Lamborghini on pole again? They were at the Nürburgring. No, they're not. Oh, so close. He was within a few hundredths of a second of his best, but not enough. It's still the 74 Audi.
Alvaro Parent still on a flying lap, but I doubt it's going to make any difference. So what we have seen now is effectively Frank Pereira in the 74 Audi pretty much got that provisional pole, a confirmed pole position.
Well, let's just see. I think because, of course, Alvaro went out, was the last of the runners to go out, and he could have time for that one more lap. Number 85 car coming through. That stays down in 13th position. So Alvaro Pereira, have we got any green on the screen? No, not in Sector 1, not in Sector 2.
So he's coming into the pits. He's done what he can do. Nothing left. I mean, the other thing is, of course, they fuel these cars relatively to not have to do the number of laps that maybe they would end up doing so. Alvaro Pret comes in. He will be starting on the third row of the grid alongside the 88 Mercedes of Rosenquist. Good drive by Simkowiak in the 86 Mercedes to be on the second row of the grid alongside Robin Friends, but the front row, Frank Pereira. Where did that time come from? It just suddenly, once again, showed his class and style in an Audi, quickest of all Audi drivers here in qualifying.
Yeah, so he and Marlon Stockinger will be very, very pleased. The crew down at ISR Audi took the checkered flag in the lead. What a 3 qualifying sessions we had here at the Circuit de Catalunya. Talk about ending the qualifying section of the year on a high. That was enormously exciting, John. But what we know is overall points leader Maxi Buch and Dominic Baumann are starting 8th. Not such a disaster because the driver they're trying to stay ahead, Rob Bell, and the driver who qualified that car, Alvaro Parenta, are only 6th.
Indeed. But you'd rather, if that was the situation, the other way around. The opening lap into turn 1. Turn 2 always gets messy. Somebody will run wide in turn 1, have to cut across the inside of the car. It's inevitable. This is what happens here at Barcelona.
But what we can say, John, is that Robin Friens, to save Enzo Ida's chance of taking a tilt at the Sprint Cup glory, yeah, Enzo sitting on a 17-point lead. It looks at all gone horribly wrong, but Robin has qualified that car 3rd. So let's hear from Enzo Ida, which I have a feel, having looked at his face, he'll be rather relieved.
Enzo, 3rd on the grid. You've got to be happy with that qualifying.
For sure, we start in front of our main competitor, so this is really great for us. And also P3 is it's inside line, so here's the first corner, fast corner, so it's important. So yeah, I'm really happy.
Were you feeling really nervous watching Robin in the car?
Yeah, I was really nervous, really.
Well, you've done it, so let's see what you can do tomorrow. Good luck.
Thank you very much.
So what we know for sure, John, as Enzo didn't need to say, he's relieved. He's clearly now just thinking, phew, sharp outlet of breath, is the point that's gone for pole position hasn't gone to one of the champion challengers, so nobody's gained an advantage at the top end. So it stays as it was before, just 5 points between them. So tight at the top, but ISR with Frank Pereira taking that pole position by 0.126 of a second. Mirko Bortolotti second fastest for the GRT Grasser Lamborghini team, and then Robin Friens, such a strong series of laps to go 3rd quickest and put a smile back on Enzo Ida's face. Jules Simkowiak, Bernd Schneider 4th fastest. Look how tight it is at the top. The top 5 cars covered by just over 0.2 of a second. Kessel Racing didn't start that session. They should have been the 17th car. But the real key today is Enzo Ida can keep on smiling. He's still got a chance to take the Sprint Cup victory. We know, though, the overall battle is between Rob Bell in the 58 McLaren. He'll start from 6th, and Maxi Buch and Dominic Baumann, they're leading the overall points chart. Neither of those crews got the championship point today for pole position, but they're starting just 2 places apart on the grid for the qualifying race tomorrow morning. That was quickfire. That was fun, John Watson. Quite breathless in the commentary box.
It's been, I think, one of the most difficult qualifying sessions, or the whole 3 segments to commentate on, because things were changing so dramatically. So much was happening, and it was a messy session at the same time, because too many drivers opted to go out at the same time. They were then tripping over each other, and on and on and on it went.
Well, just to refresh people's memories, 79 points, 17 points clear. Enzo Ida leading the championship for Sprint Cup and the drivers' points. Christopher Mies away this weekend. Robin Friens stood in for him, but Dominic Baumann and Maxi Buch in the 84 Mercedes, they can still take the Sprint Cup. They're still right in the mix. And Jules Simkowiak and Bernd Schneider, they qualified 4th, so they've got a chance of taking a tilt. But you have to say, the advantage with Enzo Ida, he almost dropped the ball this afternoon in Q1 by running off the circuit. Just a little bit, but it was enough. But then Robin Friens saved the day in qualifying session number 3. Yes, it was about finding your space out on the circuit. And look at this group of Audis, a quintet of Audis, and they just got too close to each other, tripped themselves up a little bit. In fact, the ISR Audis really ran rather slowly at the front. Then, if it was ASP time, they were going well, but we had that 87 Mercedes pull to the side of the circuit later on. And the driver who really needed to make up time was Robin Friens, who took over from Enzo Ida. And it was nail-biting stuff. It was all about getting the bonus points, if you could, for pole position in qualifying, but it was also about not dropping the ball. It was about getting into the top half of the grid to go out into Q3. But it was about timing your run, John Watson, out of the pit lane to see when you would get that clear gap in traffic, and a lot of the teams didn't manage to do so.
Yeah, I mean, timing was the key for everybody, but everybody knew that, and everybody was trying to time it correctly, and consequently what happens, you get 16 cars all trying to time it correctly, and they're all in a situation where only one of them or two of them, maybe in the case of 3 or 4, maybe 5 or 6, maybe half a dozen got it right.
But one of the beauties, we saw so many different makes of cars. We saw Nissan up near the top end. They tumbled down the order later on. But for the championship challengers, yes, we suddenly had the number 6 Audi from Phoenix Racing with Marcus Finkelhock going towards the top. He set the first flying lap in qualifying 3. And then it was a question to see who would beat it. Who would go to the top? Would the number 33 Audi stay in the mix to give Enzo Ida a dream start tomorrow? A look at the excitement down in the pit lane as the number 33 car with Robin Freet went towards the top. 58 challenge, that moved up into 6th place. But fastest of all was Frank Pereira in the 74 Audi to take pole.